Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the live stream. Going over the Sony lineup here, the Bravia 2024 lineup. Cinema is coming home is the catchphrase. And yeah, we're seeing a lineup that's kind of emphasizing cinema. You got the Bravia 7, the Bravia 8, the Bravia 9, and then the entry level is, so if you want to get into Sony Bravia, this is going to be where you do it. It's a 60 hertz TV, so it's very much on the same line as, let's say, an X80K. So closest comparison is the X80K, and I'll have a closest comparison section for all of these TVs. And let's go through the prices for this one really quickly. It's 43 inch is $599, 50 inch is $699, 55 inch is $849, 65 inch is $999, 75 inch is $1299, and 85 inch is $1899. So if any of these prices are wrong or something, please let me know. It is using a 4K HDR X1 processor, so kind of pretty much what we saw with the X80K. All right, let's move on because I know you guys don't want to spend a lot of time on that TV. So let's go to the Bravia 7. This is going to have the XR processor, 2024 edition. You got 55 inch, $1899, 65 inch is $2299, 75 inch is $2799, and the 85 inch is $3499. And the closest comparison to this is the X95L. So a lot of you guys might not have known that, but yeah, the 7 series is going to be the kind of way you can get into their mini LED. And it's pretty much, we didn't get the X95L other than the 85 inch screen size in the US last year. So, yep, 7 series is, I think, in a pretty good spot, to be honest with you. I'm kind of excited to see the 7 series because I want to see where it stacks up along the lines. So far I've seen 3 mini LED TVs this year. I've seen the QN90, I've seen the QN85, and I've seen the QNED 90. Well, I guess 4 because I've also got the U7N. But so those are the 4 that I've actually personally gotten hands-on with. I've seen others at CES and sort of gotten hands-on with it, but I'm talking about the ones that I had in my possession or got a lot of time with. So the Bravia 7 is one of those kind of sleepers, in my opinion. I think a lot of people might brush it under the radar or might be confused by the actual name, because it's sort of like, is the Bravia 7 replacing the X90L? It's not. So you have to understand that the X90L is getting carried over. So you would go X90L and then the Bravia 7. So that's how that would work. So there is no replacement for the X90L. That's just getting carried over. The next one in the lineup is the Bravia 8. This is going to be the OLED TV. Very similar to the A80L, which is a fantastic TV. There's a lot of great things to say about the A80L. And 55 inch for this one's going to be $19.99. 65 inch is $27.99. And the 77 inch, whoops, that's an old thing. 77 inch is $38.99. So prices are very much close to where you would see like the C4 right now. And so I think that's fair. The A80L 83 inch is getting carried over. So if you're probably wondering why is there no 83 inch? It's just because that's getting carried over for the A80L. The reasoning behind that wasn't given to me. So speculation wise, again, not official or anything, but I'm guessing since it used a very similar chassis as the A90J, we all know that had the heatsink with the 83 inch, right? That's probably why. Maybe they just either have a bunch of the A80L 83-inch left, or maybe they just stopped making it. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't know the reasoning why they did it, but I'd imagine it has something to do with that. Let's see. So that's the Bravia 8. Again, you can kind of see the little specs there. Now let's go on to the next one. And again, the audio specs that I pulled here, like 2.1 50-watt audio. This is for the 65-inch size that I pulled. It could be different at different size ranges, so do keep that in mind for the audio quotes. The Bravia 9. This is the newest mini LED TV, the newest mini LED technology. This is what we've seen at CES. This is the prototype. So everything that you've heard about the prototype is the Bravia 9. So just keep that in mind when we're talking about the Bravia 9. So the Bravia 9 has a very impressive audio system as well. I suggest looking into the specs on that. It's pretty nice. It's listed as 2.2.2 70-watt audio. And then the prices for the Bravia 9 are going to be $32.99 for the 65-inch. 75-inch is $39.99. And then the 85-inch is $54.99. So that would be the listing for the Bravia 9. And, overall, it's kind of in line with the prices of like the premium TVs. So it'll be really interesting how that stacks up, right? If you look at where the G4 is right now, it's going to be an interesting comparison, to say the least. And Sony's really kind of putting themselves out there for that comparison. Like, they're just like, hey, this is what it is. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it stacks up next to an OLED TV. I seen it. I say don't get your hopes up as far as like being blown away like with the contrast. I mean, the contrast is really great, but you still have the fact that it is using mini LED technology. It's the best mini LED technology that I've personally seen, but it is still not going to be like on the level of OLED as far as the contrast and the black levels go. However, it's really good, and the biggest takeaway from it is that it can get very bright, right? And so that's going to be the thing, is will it be enough brightness for you to forego wanting to have an OLED TV? It'll be an interesting comparison, to say the least. And it's not all about brightness, but brightness is going to factor into a lot of the TV decisions this year. And the brightness conversation isn't just about being like having this blinding brightness, right? It's all about, does your TV really need to tone map that much? The least amount that your TV has to tone map, the better. So if you can get bright enough to display the HDR content without the need to tone map, you are going to have a better HDR experience. So yeah, we were going to go over all of these once again. And the closest comparison for this one is not applicable. So there is that. All right, so we are going to look over the actual Bravia page here, but first I'm going to go back to this screen, kind of showing you all of the lineup. Then we're going to talk through, I'm going to take some questions. So let me look through the chat. Oh man, we really got to get some better text here. Let me work on that for you guys. Hold on. Okay, so we got the text color. The background, we'll make it black so you can actually see and read it. All right. So got Lord Punisher saying, no worries, KG. I'll give up some contrast for longevity and peace of mind, not having to worry about pixel degradation. So he's talking about burn-in most likely here, and I'm personally not the biggest worrier of burn-in, but I can see how people do worry about that. I don't think that that should factor too much into your buying decision, because unless you're somebody who really like puts a pounding on these pixels and you just play the same thing every day, you probably will never run into that. So I don't think that should factor in. I think you should look at definitely the picture quality above all. And mini LED still can deliver really good picture quality. It's just going to be a matter of like, can the Bravia 9 really deliver what you're looking for with HDR? Because at the end of the day, for me personally, it's about HDR impact. And from what I've seen, the Bravia 9 delivers that quite well. And so that's one of the things that remains to be seen, is how well will it deliver it like next to an OLED on a consistent basis. I've seen it next to a QD OLED. It was impressive. There were some scenes where I actually did prefer the prototype at the time. I was like, yeah, I think this is a scene where I would take the prototype because it was just brighter and more impactful. But then there were some scenes where I did sort of miss that contrast level that the competitor was giving me. That was QD OLED next to it. So it's it'll be a scene dependent thing for me personally, but I don't think there's a wrong answer here. I really think that a lot of people are going to love the Bravia 9, and it'll be enough contrast for most people. So we'll see. That's a really good conversation to have. I mean, I personally wouldn't worry about the whole pixel degrading thing. Let's see what we got here. We got a lot of questions. Do you guys have any confusion at all on the lineup in terms of why something didn't get replaced, or where's this sit in the lineup, things like that? I'll be able to answer those questions as well. Is it going to be as bright as the A90J now? I'm not sure. It could be. There's a very good possibility of it. The C4 right now, Classy is checking out the C4, and he's got a lot of positive things to say about it. Now, I don't have any confirmation on this, but we do know that the Bravia 8, it's going to take me a while to say this, like to get used to saying Bravia 8 instead of A80. The Bravia 8 is going to be 10% brighter, something like that, like on paper. But I wouldn't be surprised if it was actually more impactful than that, because it is going to be using pretty much probably the same panel as the C4. So if the C4 got a better increase in performance, then I would imagine the Bravia 8 would get the same type of performance increase. Like typically they just kind of share the same panel. So it'll be really interesting to see. And those that don't know, I did a stream last week where the Bravia, gosh, I just did it. I did a stream last week where the A80L actually was like keeping up with the S90D pretty consistently. That's an amazing thing, because the S90D is a quantum dot OLED. But like brightness wise, it didn't look like it was losing at all. It looked like it was on par with it most of the time. And I was showing a lot of high graded content. So I thought that was pretty amazing, to be honest with you. A lot of the brightness conversation, though, has a lot to do with the way a TV is tone mapping. So you got to always keep that in mind. So that's why I keep going back to like brightness measurements not really mattering as much. You've seen it. Is it really any better visually than the X95L? Are you talking about the Bravia 9? If so, yes. I honestly thought it blew away the X95L when I saw it next to that. So I thought it was a night and day difference from the X95L. That's why I don't think there's anything comparable to the Bravia 9 from Sony's lineup. It's a really good TV, and it'll probably be I don't want to say this until I see other TVs, but it'll most likely be that mini LED TV that everybody wants to get. It is that good. Like the prototype that I saw personally next to the X95L was quite impressive. Sony's branding is confusing. What is Bravia? Bravia is their like core lineup. That is their main lineup that is intended for like cinema, pretty much. Like this is what they want you to consider premium when it comes to Sony. So I'm imagining they're probably going to have some other TVs that aren't Bravia branded, or maybe they don't. I know some regions will, some regions won't. Right now, all we know is the US has this Bravia lineup that I have on the screen here, and that's what you're going to get. So let's see. Because it might be easier to just talk to you guys and look up this screen here. All right, yeah. So here we got the all the TVs sitting here, and they are up right now. As far as availability goes, let's kind of talk about that real quick. Availability wise, you could actually get the Bravia 7 right now. Some retailers are going to start shipping it on the 22nd. So a lot of people might start getting this TV as soon as April 22nd. So there's that for the Bravia 7. Same thing with the Bravia 3. That is also going to be now available. And when I say now available, I mean like probably next week they start shipping out. But you could start pre-ordering it right now. And then we're also going to look at the pricing and see where it compares. Like, what is the Bravia 7 and what is it compared to, like, from Samsung and LG? And I'll tell you this right now. I'll tell you this 100% right now. LG cannot be considered for mini LED TVs at the top range. They just can't. I saw the QNET 90 and it lost significantly to the QN85D. It lost significantly. So that's one where I just cannot consider LG a contender within that space. However, their OLEDs are very much a contender, as the G4 looks incredible. And I'm hearing great things about the C4. So the C4 is going to be one we get in eventually. But the S95D is on its way. We will have the S95D versus G4 live stream. So that'll be fun. Let's see where we're at. So we got 135 people watching. That's what's up. Thank you guys all for tuning in. If you guys have any questions, just type them in the chat. You can also leave a super chat if you do want to support the channel. That is greatly appreciated. And also, if you guys are enjoying the stream, do make sure you hit the like button. Help spread this out to other people. So let me look through some questions. So SD says his prediction is Sony goes to MLA for the Bravia 10 or whatever it's going to be called. Like, if you think that they're going to release another TV this year, I would bet that it's not MLA. Personally, that's just me, and I don't know anything. But I am personally just betting that they would go to QD OLED again. Getty G Man with super chat, I appreciate that. He says that is Sony still producing the 77-inch A95L? Yeah, they're absolutely still making the A95L 77-inch, and that'll be a model that carries over. So, yeah, that'll absolutely be carried over. Should be on sale still right now. I mean, like, let's double check. I haven't heard anything of this going away, so I'd imagine that they would just carry it over, even 77-inch, yeah. So yeah, you have it right now. 77-inch is available right now So yeah, that's not going away. Thank you again, Getty G Man, for that super chat. This is an interesting one. Personally, don't think a 65-inch mini LED TV should be the same price as the LG G4 65-inch. So let's look at that. All right, let's type it in. Let's compare it. So it's probably not gonna be on here, but we know the price. We could see the price right here. So it's a 65-inch, $32.99. Let's go to the LG G4. And I think this is going to be one of those comparisons that it's going to be interesting to make one of these comparisons, honestly. Because it's what? It's $100 cheaper than the G4 right now. But yeah, you're talking about two different technologies. There's going to be pros and cons to both. I have seen the prototype next to the S95C, for example. And I have seen some scenes where I would prefer the prototype. But that said, it's going to come down to your preference. And you're not going to be able to mimic the contrast fully of an OLED TV. You're just not. But this isn't that same old mini LED TV that you're thinking about. This isn't last year's mini LEDs. It's nothing like what I've seen from other mini LED TVs. I'll just put it that way. The backlight control does way more and will offer you way more. Will there still be blooming? You might see some blooming still, but it's way less than in the past. And you're going to see things dim down a lot less. So yeah, the backlight control is pretty nice. And people are going to want a brighter TV. And this will get brighter than the G4. It'll be interesting to see if it gets brighter on a consistent basis, but it should be brighter than the G4. That'll be one we have to watch for, though. Full screen brightness, totally, though. What size did you see? Oh, God, I don't even remember. I think it was a 75-inch because the S95C that was there was a 77-inch, and it didn't look much bigger than that. So I think it was a 75-inch. King Dog has a question, says, should I buy the X93L or is it worth it to wait for the Black Friday Bravia 9? If you need a TV right now, I mean, the X93L is going to be closer to what the Bravia 7 is. The Bravia 7 is better than the X93L. So that's what you should be comparing it to. The Bravia 9 is on a different level. So if you can wait and you want to wait, yeah, I would just wait. Say Bravia 9 versus 900D 8K, 4K nits versus 8K processing, 120 Hz gaming. Is 4K nits and Sony picture quality worth losing 240 Hz and 4 HDMI ports? 4 HDMI 2.1 ports. So yeah, so you only have 2 HDMI 2.1 ports on the Bravia 9. If you have multiple consoles, this might be kind of, or a multiple consoles and a PC, that might be some trouble for you. You're gonna have to get like an external source that does HDMI 2.1, like splitting or things like that, switching. But when it comes down to like Bravia 9 versus the 900D 8K, it's completely different like beasts in my opinion. I think that the Bravia 9 has a better backlight system. And from what I've seen, Samsung doesn't have a backlight system this advanced. So there's that. And as far as the contrast control goes, I'm going to give that to the Bravia 9. Processing is pretty interesting because, like, I haven't seen them side by side. I was really impressed with the 900D 8K. I really was. I think that having the ability to upscale like 1080p to 8K was pretty amazing, to be honest with you. Like, I thought it was a gimmick at first, but I saw that and I was pretty sold on it. So I like the 900D's processing a lot. 240 hertz gaming, that's a very niche thing. I mean, if that's something you do, that's something you plan on doing, you can't replicate that. Like, so Sony's not capable of that. So you gotta keep that in mind. So it really just depends on what you need. I think like pure picture quality wise, if we're talking about like who gets the best black levels, contrast, all that, then it's probably the Bravia 9 here. But it's going to be all about what you need, you know? It's a good question. I know you're considering the G4 as well. You're going to have a lot of thinking to do. Hopefully we could try to make it easier for you, but yeah, I don't want to make it harder for you. That's for sure. Thank you, Leo, for that super chat. And then we got 2 other super chats. One from Buddy Love. He says, what kind of panel does the 85-inch Bravia 9 use? I don't know. Again, there's no confirmation on like what panels are out there. If you're talking about panel maker, there's no we don't know anything. If you're talking about like, is it VA or ADS? I'm pretty sure it's VA. I'd 100% guarantee almost that it's VA. So I would say it's VA. But again, I don't know anything personally like on that front, but I believe it has been confirmed to be VA. So I'm gonna run with that because I bet somebody put a microscope up to it at the events. As far as like who makes the panel, I don't know that yet. Thank you for that super chat, Buddy Love. I do appreciate that. Stop the FOMO. Thank you for tuning in. He says, hey guys, listening while I drive. Sorry if I cannot chat too much. Traffic is a bear. So 65-inch G4 versus Bravia 9, which would you buy? That's a good question, right? Like, me personally, I don't know because I haven't seen the Bravia 9 versus the G4. So is it fair to really make that conclusion? You know, I like mini LED TVs when they're done right. But what the G4 has delivered so far, I'm pretty impressed with it. I still got to see the S95D as well, because like for my viewing environment, it's fine. Like, I don't think that screen would bother me too much, but I know not everybody loves that screen. So it's really going to be the Bravia 9 or the G4 for people this year in terms of flagships. And so I think your question is a good question, FOMO. And it's one that we're probably going to debate a lot. It goes back to, I don't know if you remember this, FOMO, but like, it wasn't too long ago, like 2 or 3 years ago, where we're talking about mini LED and OLED. And there's a debate there because you have a brightness difference there. And that has since gone away, right? We don't really need to have super bright LED TVs because our OLEDs can get super bright. It'll be really interesting to see like what the full screen brightness is of the Bravia 9. Like, how impactful is it? Like, can it really deliver on those scenes? Like, since I've seen it, you know, at CES briefly, like you did, you got more hands-on time than I did with it going to LA and everything. So when you look at it and you compare it to an OLED, one thing you always have to factor in is that technology really going to perform as they say? If it is, then we have a closer battle than ever before to OLED because you don't have to worry about the pixels dimming as much, right? Like, as far as the backlight controls. When I say pixels dimming, that's what I mean. I don't mean like self-emissive or anything like that. So in the past, you know, mini LEDs had to dim down to be able to display HDR properly. And this year, that could be changing. So, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting battle. I hope it's very close and I hope it's not just like one-sided to where OLED is going to win, because I do want to see mini LED have a fighting chance, because I recognize that not everybody wants an OLED. And the full screen brightness, if that makes a difference, again, you can only have a certain like there's only a certain amount of full screen brightness you could do on an OLED. So yeah, that's a good question. It's going to spark a lot of debates. Thank you for that super chat, FOMO. I really do appreciate it. And then we got Leo chiming in with another super chat. Thank you, Leo. Perfect answer, buddy. I want the Bravia 9. Yeah, it's hard not to want it, especially since you are a big LED fan. I know that you like LED a lot, so that'll be the next technology that, like, people who love LED and they don't want to go away from it, the Bravia 9 is that next logical step. My dream is to whoever can drop an 83-inch OLED for $3,000. I've seen that price tag before, so I don't think it's too far off. You're gonna have to wait for closeouts, things like that, but yeah, you'll probably be able to get one. I think the S90C is gonna be in that territory pretty soon, I bet, on the closeout, if I had to guess. Yeah, it's kind of boring if OLED dominates fully. I like the fact that, like, mini LED still is a liable thing. It is something that has a use case, right? Because it just isn't, yeah, like you said, it's not fun if it's just OLED all the time. So, I don't know. I hope mini LED is going to be good, but I got to see it. Like, I've got to see it in my environment. Like, I've seen it next to the S95C, and I was impressed with it. And you just have to know this, though. It'll never be an OLED at the end of the day. So as long as you're okay with that never being an OLED, and there's some sacrifices to make, there are some positives and gains to have from a mini LED TV. Like, you are going to get some of the best shadow detail that you can get from something like this. So if you're like a fan of shadow detail, I think that you're gonna really like the Bravia 9. I was impressed with the shadow detail personally when I saw it. Let's see what else we got. FOMO says Sony called me to let me know they're sending me a Bravia 5. Yeah, that Bravia 5 is going to be pretty awesome. Can't wait to check out the Bravia 5. How can it be when they have two separate shootouts, one for OLED and one for LCDs? Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think this year they have to just have the Bravia 9 with the OLEDs. That's going to be the way to do it. Unless they, kind of recognize that maybe in an environment like that, the A95L is just going to do so much better. And technically, they're carrying it over, so I don't know. That's a good observation, though. It's like, I do want to see the Bravia 9 at the shootout. And then we got Buddy Love with the super chat. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. This deserves a super chat. I am interested in Brian Tech Therapy. What Brian Tech Therapy is going to get now. The G4 was a contender until now. Yeah, I think he probably will end up getting the Bravia 9 just because he's got an OLED 83-inch already. So me personally, when I have, like, say, a very big OLED, the next thing I want is actually not a very big OLED. It's actually going to be a really good mini LED TV. And I've been looking for this for a while, honestly, perfectly, like, great question, because I personally have been looking to go with a mini LED TV, but I have not been like wowed by any of them yet. I thought the QN95C was going to be that one that just catches me and brings me in last year, and it didn't. So I thought the X95L would be like the excuse to get that 85 inch. I I honestly I thought it was cool, but it wasn't enough for me. So, on that level, I'm always looking to kind of have something different personally. So he's probably in the same line of thinking and that. And plus, it's always good to have two different types, especially when you're in this kind of space like we are, where we're like comparing TVs all the time. Wouldn't it be nice to have a go-to mini LED TV to compare, and then also a go-to OLED TV to compare, like something that you could stack up against? I think that would be nice. But yeah, and I recognize not everybody's gonna be in that situation, but yeah, I'm impressed with the Bravia 9 enough to give it a chance. And I I have been kind of souring on mini LED lately, to be honest with you. QN85D was good for what it is. The QNET 90 was an utter disappointment. The Hisense U7N is pretty good. It's about what a U8K was. So, it's actually kind of interesting. I like mini LED at the entry level point, like where the U7 sits, for example. Like the U7N is going to be a good solution for a lot of people who can't get, like, they just can't get up to OLED, right? Like their budget doesn't allow them to get to OLED. I think they'll be very happy with something like a U7N. The problem is when you get to OLED, it's like now you got to compete with OLED, right? So mini LED now has to be stacked up against OLED, and when an OLED can get as bright as a mini LED it's compared to, that's where you're going to run into like lopsided comparisons. For example, when I compared the QNED 90 to the S90D, I realized that wasn't a fair comparison, but you had to see it because you could get a quantum dot OLED for the same price as the QNED 90. Like, I don't think anybody should be using their money on a QNED 90 unless it's like super cheap. And that's kind of like I specified that in the review. It's like, this has to be on sale, and you really just have to not want an OLED to even consider it. So I hope that's not going to be the case for like the Bravia 9. And again, I'm not going to say the Bravia 9 is going to replace OLED. I'm not saying that. But I'm going to say it's going to get closer to that than you've ever seen a TV get, based on what I saw. As far as the release date goes, Leo, we don't have a release date on the Bravia 9. If I'm guessing, I would probably guess late May is the earliest we'll see it. I don't see it before then. So late May is probably the earliest we'll see it. June is a likely release date for that. But I don't see it going past July. So I'm not thinking it's not going to be like a fall release. I don't think it's going to be like that. Same thing with the Bravia 8. I think you'll probably see the Bravia 8 next month. If I had to guess, that's where I would put it. But again, you can get the Bravia 7 right now and the Bravia 3 right now. So that is the two that are available right now. But the other two are going to be coming soon. All right, so let's go and look at some of the things it's up against. So the Bravia 7 is a 55-inch for $18.99, right? So let's type in 55 TV. Let's see what pops up for a 55-inch TV this year. Yeah, you can see the Bravia 3 is already available. So we're looking for the $18.99 price point. So we see the G4 is $25.99. The QN85D is $13.99. I would say that the Bravia 7 is better than the QN85D for sure. Let's keep going. QN90D is $19.99. So that is the competitor right there. You are looking at a true like comparison of the QN90D versus the Bravia 7. That is a fair comparison, and I think that is where you'll want to look. If you're looking at the QN90D, you're definitely going to want to look at the Bravia 7. So that is the one you'll compare it to. Which means that it's going to also be very close to where like the S90D is, for example, and very close to where the C4 is. That's where we get into some tough conversations, like the Bravia 7 versus the S90D, things like that. James, thank you for the super chat. He says, hopefully Value Electronics gives us release dates of the Bravia 9. They will. As soon as they're able to, I'm sure they will. I think, like, if you go off of history, we do see kind of like the X90 series release first with the X80. And since there's no X90 replacement this year, they're just carrying over the X90. We also would see like the X93 and the X95 launch around the same time. So this doesn't surprise me as far as like release windows go. And then OLED is like a month later. And then you would have the A95L QD OLED like 2 months or 3 months later sometimes. Sorry, the A95 series. So it's probably along the lines of where you would see like the A95 release 2 or 3 months after this one is releasing, the Bravia 7. That's why I'm saying July, probably no later than July, but who knows? That's just a guess on my point, on my part. Thanks again, James, for the super chat. The Bravias have narrow and wide feet positions. At least some of them do. Yeah, I really like the fact that they have multiple configurations. As far as like the Bravia 7, the Bravia 8, and the Bravia 9, they have, I think they all have multiple stand configurations. And we got a little bit of a exclusive teaser here. FOMO says we're going to talk about the Bravia 9 release on Saturday at Value Electronics. So that stream is Saturday. FOMO, you can tell everybody what you're doing again on Saturday if they're not familiar. I'll give you a little plug. Go ahead and plug your stream. That way I can remind people to go check it out. U7N eats up the QNED 90T and the QN85D. That's embarrassing. Yeah, you know, I'm going to put up the U7N against the QN85D before. Let's see. I don't know when I'm going to do it, but it's not on like the super priority list. But I will try to do it because I do have the U7N right now, and I also have the QN85D. I don't have the QNED 90T anymore. That's gone. But I can tell you right now, the QNED 90T lost by a big long shot to the QN85D. So, yeah, I was really disappointed with the QNED 90T as far as like what is LG doing on that release. let's see. Sony needs flagship TVs to sell. 895L 77-inch still back ordered in lots of stores. They are hurting with these delays. They're starting to ship them out. I know that. Like, you can order them right now on Sony, so that's pretty good. It's a good start. $77 inches in high demand for the A95L though. Makes sense. QNED, yeah, QNED is that was a kind of disappointing release for sure. Apparently so if you're in the UK though, apparently the QNED is better there. Apparently they got a better version. The QNED 91 in the UK is supposedly better. So there's that. I guess if you're UK based. Let me look through some questions here. I really appreciate everybody for stopping by. Ask the questions if you have them. We'll go for a little bit longer. I hopefully covered things as good as possible as far as like letting you know kind of some of the differences, things like that. I just wanted to kind of get your guys' opinion and chat back and forth. I didn't want to be too informative and like spit out so much information. Because a lot of this stuff is like on spec sheets, things like I hate reading off of spec sheets because you could read that stuff yourself. But yeah, if you have any questions, I can definitely answer to my best ability. I just realized my face cam isn't even up. That's fine. I've been looking at the camera the whole entire time like my face cam was up, and I just wasn't up. I mean, that's okay. You guys don't need to see my face anyway, I guess. Does KG review PC monitors? I can. I have. It's not a priority for me, but it could be in the future. So the problem is I gotta pick and choose what to buy, what to sell, like how fast can I get rid of it, how fast can I turn it. Like, I'm not rich, so I can't just like buy everything. And selling stuff is hard, so there's that. And monitors are definitely easier to sell for sure. So it might be something where maybe I'll get into monitors more because that is easier to move. So monitors are possible. I only have so much time though. I think if I ever do monitors, I definitely gotta get another trusted employee because yeah, it's a lot of work. But I know monitors and I could do monitors for sure. The problem with monitors is I actually do not like PC monitors. I think that monitor display technology, for example, like is so far behind TVs. So I would rather have, in most cases, I would rather have a 42-inch C4 as a computer monitor than like many of the other monitors on the market, like that are marketed as monitors, for example. Yeah, the display guy does reviews. He's really mostly about monitors, but he does TVs as well. He's a cool dude. I talked to him on Twitter. Definitely check out his channel. And hardware and boxes, of course, really good. And then FOMO, doing the plug here. So here's a FOMO stream on Saturday. Live stream comparison between the G4 and whatever is in the store. And on Friday, not to steal your thunder, FOMO, but if you want a little bit of a preview on Friday, I'll probably have the S95D versus the G4. I hope. unless for some reason I just can't set it up in time. But yeah, Friday is my live stream, and then Saturday is FOMO's live stream. Check out both of those. You don't want to miss them. I hope you guys have like a lot of light examples, like with the S95D on Saturday. I think that would be really cool. I'm gonna personally do a lot of light examples. I hope it's a sunny day on Friday when I do my stream. I don't know what time it gets dark. I need to make sure the sun is going to be out when I stream. So that is for sure. If not, I do have some light that I can just kind of make. I can make light. And bounce that off of the TV. $4K QD OLED monitors top out at 32 inches this year. So Bravia 9 demos this weekend. Nope. You won't see the Bravia 9 for a while. See, where's FOMO's comments about the... next to the Bravia 9, I was not impressed by the Bravia 7 at all. Well, that's because the Bravia 7 is basically what, the X95L, right? I was not that impressed with the X95L when it was next to the prototype. So that makes sense. But that's two different classes of TVs right there. Like 65-inch, let's see. Yeah, $1,000 difference. That's an interesting thing. That will be kind of an interesting comparison to see, honestly. The 7 versus the 9. Is it worth that difference? I think it is. But that'll be one to help people make that comparison, I guess. Help them make that decision, I should say. Think the Bravia 7 will be much better than the X93L? Yeah, I actually think it is better than the X93L. It's pretty much better than the X95L. The only thing that's not better about it is it doesn't have the viewing angle, right, filter, the X wide filter. Unless you're sitting off angle, that's not going to bother you too much. If you are off angle, though, you're definitely going to want the Bravia 9. But if you're watching straight on, the Bravia 7 is going to be pretty good compared to the X93L. It should be better. And remember, we didn't get the X95L in the US in 55-inch, 65-inch, 75-inch. I don't even think 55-inch existed in other regions. But yeah, it's good. I think one of the things about the Bravia 7 is where it sits in the lineup might be confusing to people. They might think it's the X90L replacement and the X90L just got this like huge price increase. Nah, it's actually just replacing where the X93L was and the X95L should have been. So it's an improvement over the X95L. What is your personal use TV for gaming? Right now I have, let's see, what do I game on the most? I probably game on the A80L the most right now, but that's just because of the location that it's in. I don't really have a primary like TV. I'd probably say the S95B. I game on that the most. I game on my 48-inch C1 a lot too, but yeah. I haven't really gotten to enjoy the TVs that I own, sadly, lately. I'm always working. It sounds bad. But no, it's like when you looking at TVs a lot for being a creator. I mean, you kind of don't really watch and play as much as you used to. I don't know. Yeah, I need to enjoy more TVs. That's for sure. I'd probably say it's the S95B though. Um, that's probably what I play games on the most. But that's just based on the location of where it's at. And I also have been gaming on the projector lately too, on a ultra short throw, 120-inch screen. That's pretty fun. What else we got here? Have they said zone counts yet? No, I don't think they have. If you go to High Def News on Twitter, or X, he posted something about zone counts. So check that out. It's all unofficial, of course, but they never officially say the zone counts anyway. But I think some people have some information on the zone counts out there. So yeah, definitely check out High Def News. Watch Fallout, it's great. Yeah, I started watching Fallout. It is pretty good so far. All right, last call for questions. And then we'll wrap. So if you got any last second questions, now is the time to type them. You could ask me like, which TV is better, things like that too. It doesn't have to relate to Sony. If you've ever wanted to ask me a question while you have me here on the live stream, now's the time to do it. Hopefully I can help you out. And then if you guys have any other questions and you just forget to answer them, or if you forget to ask them, you could put them in the comments, and I'll definitely get to them later for sure. What is the projector downfalls for you? I would have to say just black levels. Um, it's kind of that's the biggest downside I think is the black levels. While they're impressive for like a projector, I haven't seen a projector to get the black levels right, the contrast right. So there's that. Color is fantastic on a projector though. Um, but as far as like, I would say sometimes the black levels just, I wish they were better, because sometimes you can lose shadow detail. Sometimes it's really hard to see some shadow detail on occasion. So I would say like if there was a way that they can improve that, that would be really nice. I think there's a technology being worked on for projectors where it's like you have a projector that sort of has like a local dimming based system in a way built into it somehow by like dimming the projector light in certain areas. It's kind of odd, and you gotta look into it more. But there's definitely a lot more ways to go with a projector. The problem with projectors, though, is that we're starting to get like 98-inch TVs becoming more affordable, and I think at that point, I would just take a TV over a projector. But a TV does take up more space, so yeah, it's tough. It's tough to say. Like if you have space for a 98-inch TV, it's hard to not want that over a projector. So High Def says he got the 75-inch Bravia 9 with 1920 zones, so 1,920 zones on the 75-inch Bravia 9, counted by Flat Panels HD. Okay, that's not bad. You can definitely get some impressive dimming with that many zones. Bravia 7 is literally the X95L with refreshed software. That's what I'm thinking too. That's not necessarily a bad thing though, considering we didn't get the X95L last year in a lot of sizes. KG peeps want to know your opinion on Bravia 9 reflection handling. Interesting. So, the one that I saw seems fine. Like, I didn't see the final Bravia 9, I just saw the prototype. So I can't really give you the Bravia 9 reflection handling, but I could give you the prototype reflection handling. It seemed fine. It didn't seem like there was too many issues with it. It's glossy, so I mean, it has that glossy look to it. So you don't have to worry about the screen coating being much different. It looks pretty good in the videos that I saw. As far as like when people were shining lights off of it, didn't seem to be that big of an issue. We got Classy in the house. What's up, Classy? You're here like right when I'm about to rap, man. Right when I'm about to rap. So here's do all Bravias have XR clear, or was that marketing speak last year? No, they all have Bravia clear this year, except for the Bravia 3, which doesn't have the XR. So you have the XR clear in the 7, the 8, and the 9. And last year it was in everything except for the X93, because the X93L just it didn't have the latest XR software and some of the hardware differences there. So it does absolutely have it this year. KG, where's Max? Yeah, I talked to Max the other day. He's doing great. He's just a really busy dude. Same thing with Classy, you know. He's a busy dude. If you got a family and a full-time job, like you're gonna be busy. I get that. So definitely is tough when you have a lot of things to do in your life. Like as far as like your obligations, things like that. See, I'm fortunate to not have kids, so I can focus on this a lot. And this is my primary like job, so it's also fortunate to do that. Do you work at Best Buy? I do not. I used to work at Best Buy about 4 years ago. 5 years ago. Yep. 5 years ago I worked at Best Buy. Yeah, I tell Max you guys always ask him about him and say hello. So yeah, I'll definitely let him know. A lot of questions about the Bravia 3. It's pretty much the X80. So like it's pretty much the replacement for the X80K. On vacation, popping in for a minute. Yeah, enjoy your vacation, man. This is a good question. Will the Bravia 9 hang with the G4? In some cases, maybe. In other cases, it will not. So it goes back to like when you're gonna compare an OLED to a mini LED TV, you're gonna have pros and cons, and as long as it's a capable mini LED TV, it shouldn't get murdered. Like that's the thing that you have to think about. Like you will see some comparisons versus a mini LED TV, like with OLED and mini LED TV, where it's like, oh, that is not fair. That it's just not close. Um, that shouldn't be the case. You shouldn't say that when you compare it to the Bravia 9. But there's going to be cases where you'll absolutely want the OLED over it. It'll be interesting how it handles HDR and HDR impact, because you can't really judge that unless you are in front of it and you are able to see all of that yourself. Because I'll tell you this for sure, like for a fact, when you're talking about OLEDs before MLA, OLEDs before QD OLED, you were actually looking at some cases where I personally would have took the mini LED in a lot of cases, in a lot of scenes. But since OLED has gotten brighter, that certainly has changed. And so I haven't found a mini LED TV that can change my mind on that, where maybe the Bravia 9 can get close. I gotta see it, man. I seen it, but I gotta see it, like against the G4 and things like that. I hope I'm able to. My fear is that I might not even be able to see it next to that, depending on when it releases. So we'll see. Might hold on to the G4 because of this reason. Cypher says Bravia 9 is compelling. If I get mini LED TVs this year, it'll be the QN900D for 8K. So I can fully utilize my 5090. Yeah, that's interesting. 5090, when that comes out, I don't know when that's coming out, but we might be talking about TVs from next year at that point, right? Like 5090 is ways away, as far as I know. Maybe not. Maybe it's closer than I think. All right. I think that's about all the questions that you guys have. I didn't see any more. So, yep. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button on the way out. You guys are awesome. Appreciate everybody for asking a question, and I appreciate those that left a super chat. That is always greatly appreciated. You guys help support the channel. You guys are all amazing for that. And when you're buying your next TV, please consider using one of the affiliate links to help support the channel, help it grow, help us get more TVs in for future reviews, comparisons. That is all great. If you guys can help out with that, thank you. Appreciate you. As far as like sponsors and things like that, you probably noticed that I don't have a lot of sponsors, right? Like I turned down so many sponsors, and there's a reason for that. I can't work with a lot of sponsors. I just don't want to. I just don't believe in some of the products. So I've been offered like some mini LED monitors, OLED monitors, things like that. I don't have any like real reason to take those products because I would never use them. So I want to make sure that if I get a sponsor, it is something I agree with. I've been asked this question, so that's why I wanted to go over it. Why don't I have a lot of sponsors? That's why. I need to agree with the product. And there will be times where, I will maybe review a TV that I got for free. I'll let you guys know that straight up. If that ever happens, I'll let you know that straight up. Like the A80L, for example, I got that as a gift for free. I reviewed it. And then the U8K, I got that for free as a gift. I reviewed it. Like I said, there might be more TVs in the future like that, but most of the other reviews on this channel, they are not gifts, and we have to go out and get them. So thank you guys for your support. I really do mean that. But closing in, I just wanted to let you know that full transparency. We do not, we don't do sponsorships as much as possible. So in the future, you guys are ever wondering like, hey, is that a sponsored review? Most likely not. And if I do get sent something, I will not positively say something just to please them. And I will never let them write anything that I review. And that's kind of the case. And I want to let you guys know that's kind of the case for everybody in this like space. That's how it is for like FOMO and Brian and like Brandon, all those guys. Like, they're not telling us what to say. We get our own opinions. And that's the great thing. Like when I was invited to Samsung, I got to say whatever I wanted. Yeah. So, you know how that goes. Sometimes they don't like what we say. I'll be real honest with you. Like I got invited to LG at CES and they didn't like what I said about the QNET, I bet. So, there's that. That's fine, right? Yep. All right. So, I saw one last question. I didn't want to miss it. I lost it. All right, whatever. Sorry if I missed your question. Leave it in the comments. You guys are awesome. All right, take it easy. Have a good day. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on Friday. S95D G4, hopefully. Stay tuned. We'll find out. Peace.